Hello guys, so today I'm going to start with the Java next lecture, which is related to the instance variables and the data type. So I have prepared this document. In this document you can see I have been divided. There are two subdivisions, which is what are the variables and where we are going to use those variables. And apart from this, in the variables, types of variables, and one of the examples in the real-time scenarios, and then what are the Java data types. And after discussing with the Java data types, we are checking with the two different types, which is the primitive and the non-primitive, how we are going to differentiate between those, and some details on those, and some examples of those variables. And then we are going to cover Java variables, their declaration and initiation steps with the real-time Java program, and try to check with one of the basic example of variables and their usage and the printing of those variables. Then we'll ask some quick questions. You will be posting the results in your chat sections, and then we'll summarize today's lecture. So this is a brief introduction about today's lecture. So let's start the topic, which related to the what is the variable. So let's start with the topic is variables in Java. So there are few points: what, when, and how. So for any topic, or you can say you can also include why as well. So for any topic, you need to have remember you have these kind of a question that you need to have in your mind, such that what is this, when we are going to use this, and how we are going to use this, and why we are doing so. So these, when you cover these four questions in any topic, then you are good to go for the next topic, and that means you are completely able to understand the topic. So same thing we will be doing with this topic wise. So first is what is variable. So what is variable? It is a storing thing, you can say. With the help of variable, we can store any sort of data, and that data can be anything. For example, my name is Ajay Diya. So Ajay is a, I wanted to store somewhere else. Similarly, my age is 30. So I wanted to store in some variable that will store that 30 value. Similarly, my address, for example, I living in Haryana. So this is the place where I wanted to store. Similarly, I'm educator at Geeks for Gigs. Apart from that, I'm also working as a lead engineer as well. So these are the different things that I wanted to convert the data and store into some data, some things. So that thing is known as variable. So what is the variable? Variable is a storing thing that can hold some data, is known as a variable. As the name suggests, when we are going to use the same. So whenever we want to have the data, and we can reuse those data again and again for reusability of data, and that reusability can be anything. For example, printing, for using somewhere else. So that's why when we are going to use this kind of a variables, and how we are going to use this. So there is a syntax in Java that was followed by. So first is, we need to provide the data type of the variable, then variable name, and what data it stored with a semicolon. So this is the syntax of the variable when we are declaring the types. So it's a right now we are understanding these things. So why we are doing so? So same logic. Why is same is what and when we combine. So that simply means whenever we want to store some data, we create a variable with that specific name, and whatever the value it can hold, we are defining that data type of that variable. So let's take one example to understand one of the flow. So let's say int is a data type. We will discussing what is data type later on. Let's say if I wanted to store the data in integer, 30 is age is an integer value. So I wanted to store 30 in some variable. So int and the variable name. So variable name is age and I wanted to store value as 30. Similarly, Ajay is my name. So Ajay is a string type. So let's create a variable data type as string, name the variable as name, and you can assign a value. So this is how we are defining the values associated with it, and this is the syntax that is associated with the variable in Java. Same thing I have been initiated here. So variables are the containers for storing any data values. Each variable in Java must be declared with a data type. The syntax of that is data type, their associated variable name, and the value that it can hold. For example, int age is equal to 25, string name is equal to Ajay. This is the example so which you can understand this value. So there are types of variables that you can see in your real times. So first is local variable, second is instance variable, third is static variable. And what are the difference between all those three values? So the local variables are defined inside a function, and the instance variable are defined on class level but not bounded with class. We will cover this point when we you going to understand with the example. And the static variable are defined on the class level and bound with the class. So let's take an example to understand each of the variables, and then you will understand the difference between instance variable and the static variable. So it's a very important thing that you need to know about it. And most of the times in automation perspective, you are going to create the variables either on the instance level, either on the static level. So these are the basic necessity that you need to know about it. So that's why we will covering the point with the example flow. Before that, let me just show you the document we have for that. So the type of variables in the Java is basically three types. First is local variable, so it declares inside the methods. Second is instance variable, belongs to the object. That simply means it defined on the class level but it associate with the object only. Static variable belongs to the class and defined in the class level. So let's take an example with the IntelliJ. So I was preferred you to use the IntelliJ as an ID for any other than whether it's you are using Eclipse or any sort of values. So let's this is the Maven project I have created. I hope you have able to add your Java in your laptop. If you haven't, just go through one of the video on the YouTube. You will find a lot of videos which help you to download the Java and the IntelliJ in your laptop. Try to do so and create the Maven project against the same. So let's create a package class inside. Let's say our lecture is 2, so let's make it as 2. So inside this lecture we can create a main method. So main method is basically the starting point of the program. For anything we need to declare every values here. So let's go one by one and declare the associated things. So first is a local variable. So these are the function which is defined on the functional level. So let's create one function, public void sum int a int b. So this is the variable int c is a local variable because it's inside this function. If you are calling the c value in any other sort of thing, it is not working. So, or when any object through which you can call, it is not possible because this variable will only lies inside this function. So I'm just printing the value c is equal to a plus b. So I'm just printing the value whatever I have got through the inside. So basically, if I call the value with sum and provide two values, whether it's 10 or 20, it will provide the value of that local variable and add the value. Simply means 10 plus 20. That means it result 30 as an output whenever I call some function with provided two variables inside that part. So this is the local variables are defined inside a function. Now moving on to the instance variable. So these variables are defined on the class level but not bounded with the class. That's what I'm trying to say. So let's say I have created a variable roll number. So this is the variable I have defined on the class level, but it is not a static method. So if I wanted to call the value of that roll number, we need to use create a reference variable, or you can say object or a variable of that class. So let's say I have created a obj is equal to new. By using obj dot roll number, I am able to access this function and assign the value whatever I want to. If I don't assign a value, let's say I have assigned value as 30 and print the value. Let's say I have printing the value now, this one. So it will print you instead of 30, let's print 20. So it will print 20. So on every object I can change the value, but if I create a new reference variable, let's say I have created an object 1 and I didn't provide any value, so by it is bounded with the it is not bounded with the class. So that means it is by default holding whatever the value. Let's say integer is by default holds a 0 value, so it will return us the 0 value. So if I make the variable at static, that simply means it is bound with the class, not with the class, or you can say bound with object. So whenever I make a changes here, the updated value, which is 20, is also reflected here. So this is the main difference between static and non-static. So that's why for making a complete value throughout the cycle execution, when we started the automation, or whenever the WebDriver we needs to provide with the all classes, we are going to define the variable as static instead of non-static. So if I make a static, that simply means it will default the value again to the variable. So let's call the value, let's say 10, 20. See, this is the value I have. So by default it starts from executing like this. It will create a reference variable with this. So I have assigned the value as 20 as a object level 1. So that simply means this roll number is being changed from 0 value to 20, then it will print 20. Then I have created a new variable, and without assigning any new value with that variable, that simply means it is on that specific variable, this roll number will act as a 0 value and print a 0. Similarly in this it will print 30 as an output. So this is the execution of the program. Let's try to run the value and check the result. See, 20, and then 0, and then sum is 30. So before moving on to that, let me share with diagram so that can help you. So this is obj1, this is obj2. So inside that, roll number is going to be assigned. By default it is 0. By default it is 0. This is the roll number and this is the roll number. So if I make the changes in obj on that value, instead of 0, make it as 20. That if I print the value roll now 20, it displays 20. But I haven't made the changes in object level 2 with the roll number. So that's why it is printing as 0 to us. So this is the main difference between static and a non-static. If I make the value as static, that simply means it will not bound with the value of the class object. So it is bound with the class. So let's say this is the class, and inside that class the roll number will persist. So if using obj1 I make a changes in roll number from 0 to 20, that simply means it is now holding value 20. If I again calling the obj roll number, that simply means it will print value 20. So this is the main difference between static and the non-static. And in the real time, we are declaring most of the variables as static because we want that to hold till the complete execution of your automation script. So if I make it as static, I have make the static variables. Now change, see the difference. Before that it is printing 20, sum is 30, and similar like this. So let me store the value to show you the difference between the value. This is the old data without providing the static variable. So we are using the instance variable. So let's make execute the same and check what it changed the value. See, now we have, instead of 0 value, it is printing the 20 value because we have make the changes as 0 to 20 like this, and the updated value roles will associate with the class, not with the object. That simply means we are calling this variables only. So this is the main difference between a static variable and an instance variable. So this is the example. This is the I have shown one of the flow, and we have seen with the Java flow as well. I hope everyone. I hope this is the you have any concern, you can drop a note into the chat section. I will able to get your point, so we can proceed with the next point. So this is the complete information about the variables. So let's move on to the data type. Hello, hi, hello SK Patel, and yeah. So let's move on to the Java types. So the Java data types has categorized into two subdivisions, with its primitive and second is non-primitive. So primitive are those data types which are by default provided by the Java. So there are 8 types of primitive data types that was provided by the Java. So this is the diagram that you need to know. But being a automation tester, you don't need to remember the bit size because that doesn't bother you much, because our main focus is to automate. So we just need to have idea what sort of value that a variables can hold. See, without data type we cannot create a variable. So we first need to understand what is Java data types. So these are the 8 primitive data types that has been provided by the Java, which is byte, short, integer, long, float, double, char, and boolean. So these are the primitive data types. So you don't need to remember all of the values. Majorly, you are going to use the integer value for storing the int value, whether it's 100, minus 0 and minus 10, whatever the value you want to have, hold that. Long, if the value is beyond the 32,000, the value of this, so then that's why we are going to use the long variable, long integer. So there is a different definition that in the end L value is going to be shown that it is a part of a long variable. Float simply means the decimal value, for example 2.3, 4.5, anything sort of values can be held using a float. Similarly, for larger value in the floats, we can use double value. So int, long, float and double, these are the basic necessity you need to know. Then you need to understand the character. So character can hold a single value. So let's say my name is Ajay. So this is a string. So how many character is this? There are four characters inside it. What are those characters? First character is A, second character is J, third character is A, and the last character is Y. So there are four characters inside which combination of this is known as string. So combination of characters will result us to a string. So char, it can hold like this. You can see char g is a variable name I have created, and a is a character that can hold. Similarly, boolean is the value which can hold either true value or a false value. So most of the times boolean is being used for verification. You have, for any testing sort of thing, you need to know that expected result and the actual result, you need to verify. If both are true, that simply means it is a boolean value. If both is not matching, that simply means it will result as false. So that's why we are going to use in automations assert class that will have two functions, assert true or assert false. If the actual result and the expected result doesn't meet up, that simply means boolean is being used, which returns a value as false. If the both are the matching, that simply means boolean is a value that it can hold, and it can hold true value. So this is the main thing that you need to know about these primitive data type. So and the non-primitive data types are those data types which are not part of a primitive, you can say, which are kind of a classes interfaces which has been provided by the Java. Like string is a class, arrays is a class, classes, you can see I have created one class like this, and we have declared a data type which is this, and we are calling a, or we are creating a instance variable with obj. Similarly, classes has been changed to the interfaces as well. So same thing is been associated with it like this. So let's create one example to show you the value. So string is a you can say primitive data type. Oh, sorry, non-primitive data type. Let's say obj Ajay. So if I print the value of this obj value is, see, if I print the value, it will print the value Ajay. See, so this string can hold a non-primitive data type. So this is the basic difference between non-primitive and the primitive data type. So when we move to the declaration and initiation of a Java variables or a Java data type, there are three things that you need to know. First is declaration, second is initiation, and third is combination of those values. So declaration simply means without providing any value, we are defining the value, like we have done in this previous example. We have defined this without holding any value. This is known as declaration. We have declared the variable but haven't used or haven't assigned any value. Here we are assigning the value. So this is known as initiation. For most of the time when you are doing the automation, you are declaring the variables here and initiation of those variables will be done on the later functions, or you can say in the separate functions. So this is the major point that you need to know, but not every time you need to create with that. You can declare the values and initiate the value combined with this example. Let's say, take an example as a primitive data type. Let's say this is the primitive data type I have defined. So I have declared a variable with a, which of data type as integer, which is of primitive, and it is holding a value of 30. So initiation and declaration both combined in a single value. This is a primitive type. Similarly, non-primitive, let's say name, is also a combined non-primitive type. So we can also use those variables and print the value whatever we want. So let's print the value. So let's say age is name. So by using system.out.println, I can print the value in the console. So this is the main thing that you need to know about the Java. See, it is printing the value with the name. So let me just add a space for more differentiation thing. See, age is 30 and name is Ajay. So this is how we can declare and initiate the Java data type and the variable. See, declaration initiation combined with this example. This is the basic thing that you need to know about it. I hope everyone have able to understand the topic. You can just uh, chat, drop a note if you are able to understand the point in the live chat as well. So let's do a quick understanding, and you can say quick revision. What are the basic thing that you need to know? So by default, you can, this is the example of a string. We can have a multiple non-primitive examples as well. Let's say array. So by using this, we can declare an array, and we can print the value whatever inside this. So this is also an example of combination of non-primitive and a primitive data type. So this is the brief introduction about the variable and their Java data types. So we have covered what are the variables. These are the basic containers. This is the example which syntax you need to know about it. There are three different types, whether it's a local, instance, and static. Most of the time in any automation project, you are going to use these two things, which is the instance variable and the static variables. And then we have seen with one of the examples of the printing those specific values. This is the example, which is the instance variable, this is the static variable, this is the local variable. We have assigned the value, the instance variable, using setting of those values, and this is the local variable we have done. Then we have moved to the Java data types. Using that Java data type, we have categorized into two different types. First is the primitive type, where we have defined with eight different types, and then we have moved to the non-primitive type, which is classes, arrays, interface, and classes. String. So string is example we have seen, arrays we have seen, classes we have seen. So these are the different types that we have seen, and then we move to the Java variable and the declaration initiation steps. So the content here we have done with the declaration like this: initiation with x is equal to 10, and we can combine the declaration and initiation on primitive and non-primitive as well. So these are the some few examples. which integer a is equal to 5, float pi is equal to 3.14f, character is equal to a. So these are the different through which we can combine the value of initiation and declaration. This is one of the examples where we have added integer age is equal to 20, name as Ria, marks whatever 85.5%, boolean value as passed is true, and then we are printing all those values with those variables we have been created above, whether it's a name, whether it's age, whether it's a marks, whether it's a past. So these are the few questionnaire that you can provide an answer in the chat sections. I will wait till 30 seconds and you can drop a note. So these first question is basically what are the default value of a string variable and which data type is used to store the true and false. So drop point on these two point. Let's start with the first question. What are the default value of a string variable? Yeah, we got the answer as a by default value of is this string value as null. If we don't provide any value on those string, let's say I haven't provided the value like this, and if I print the value, what is the output of that? See, because it is not initiated any value, so that is assigned the value as null. That simply means it is throwing a null pointer exception. You can see this is the main difference between a non-primitive and a primitive data type. If I don't provide any value, for example a, let's say age is a, and I don't provide any value of that integer, it simply means we haven't initiate the value. Let's say I have just printing the value of a, that simply means we haven't initiate the value. Variable might not have been initiated as well, so by default it is holding a zero value. And which data type is used to store the true and false? So the true and false value can be held by the boolean value. So boolean is also a primitive data type that can hold value as a true or a false. Let's say assert check. Okay, so by default this assert, this variable as a boolean data type can hold value either true or a false. Let's say I can provide the value as true and I print the value of variable, so it will print the value as true because it can hold the value as true. See, if I make the changes as false, that means the system.out.println will print value of that variable as false. Let me make run the same. See, it is holding the true and false value. So this is the basic point that you need to know. For any assertion we are going to use this boolean lot of time because it is helping you. If I add the dependencies with the associated with that assertion class, there are predefined functions which is known as assert true or assert false. If I provide the value as a true, that simply provide doesn't throw any assertion error. If we are providing the boolean value as false, that it will throw us a false value in that part. So this is the main difference between the point we have discussed so far. So the summary in the end, so this is the complete lecture between variables and the different types of things in Java. So let's summarize the topic and then we can wrap it up the today's lecture. So the summary that simply means very summary here is variable that can hold the data value is known as variables, must be declared with the data types, and we have understand there are two different data types. First is primitive and non-primitive. We can define the variables with either of those. Then Java has 8 primitive types, which we have covered this: byte, short, integer, long, float, then double, then character, and then boolean. You need to understand how we are initiation and declaration with this. And most of the times in automation perspective, we are generally do declaration and then initiation is being done on the function level, or you can say actionable method level as well. Then at the end, non-primitive types are based on the objects, which when whatever the object we have created, for example, string, the arrays one, the classes we have seen. So that's all for today's lecture, guys. I hope everyone able to understand the point. So try it in the real time. Try to install the Java in your own laptop. Use the IntelliJ and try to create some variables on their own. Try to create all the primitive data types and print the value on their own, and then try to check the creation of the object on the class, and similarly using string as well. Then you are good to go with the next following lectures that we are going to start our today's topic. Then thank you everyone, that's all for today's. You can wrap it up.